Lovely. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining what is our third SFMI Bitesize Webinar. We're actually going to be hitting our largest attendance this week as well, and that is probably tribute to our upcoming guest speaker. We know him from the SFMI. He is Jehangir Ali, and is obviously part of the Bouygues Energies and Services team. Bouygues Energies and Services can take part in the SFMI's annual audits, sustainability audits. And we have the pleasure of speaking to Jehangir on an annual basis to understand what progress is being taken within procurement in the company and how they are embedding and integrating sustainability and keep continuing to push the continual improvement curve within the organisation. So we're very much looking forward to chatting with Jehangir. So I'm just going to give you a very quick overview of the SFMI, because we have lots of new faces who may not know about us before. So the SFMI is the Sustainable Facilities Management Index. Ultimately, the purpose of the SFMI is to embed sustainability into the management and operation of the FM sector. We've been operating since 2012, and the way we do it is by adhering to the 4 pillars that you can see on your screen. So this is providing the FM industry with a sustainability roadmap, so they can continuously develop and improve sustainability within their organisation, not just from an operational sense, but also from how it's been integrated into their services and into their supply chain. We upskill the sector in particular. So, for example, these webinars are all about educating and informing and giving information to the FM sector, so they can learn for free. We understand and explain issues surrounding sustainability in FM, and you'll see reports on our website where you can download them again for free. Understand the where the SFMI believes the FM sector should be heading in order to be sustainable leaders, and in order to provide its customers with added value, which can help integrate with things like zero carbon targets or social value, for example. Then we celebrate success and excellence in the sector as well. So organisations such as Bouygues Energies and Services, they take part in annual audits, and they get rewarded for their commitment to sustainability by receiving a kind of certification on an annual basis. We had the pleasure of giving Bouygues Energies and Services a platinum award this year as well. So they have shown kind of continuous improvement. I keep using that word, but they continue to show us how they're kind of moving through their pathway. And so we're excited now to hear from Jehangir Ali. So Jehangir is the procurement lead within the company. And we're really excited to hear how the organisation has been partnering with SMEs in particular to drive key sustainability projects. Before I do hand over though, I am going to say, if you have questions, please do type them into either the Q&A section, kind of the pop-out box, or you can type them into the comment section as well, the chat function, and we'll be kind of collating those, and then we'll have a 5 minutes at the end for a bit of question and answers. So without any further ado, I will pass over to you, Jehangir.
Thank you very much. I will look to share my screen. Give me a second.
We can see that.
You can see that. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. My name is Jehangir Ali. I'm the procurement lead for Bouygues Energies and Services Limited in the UK. I'm here to talk to you about partnering with SMEs to drive sustainability. The particular webinar today, I'll be using a specific case study where we work with a strategic partner of us, HSL, in terms of driving single-use plastic reductions and carbon reduction. And before I start, I just wanted to say that I'm not saying we have the answers to everything, but what we are going to try and do is use the case study as a means hopefully for individuals on here to pick up good practices and ways of trying to push projects like these through our organizations as a collective goal. I always find it a good icebreaker. Bouygues, my company, like my name, is not that easy to pronounce when you hear it first. So we are Bouygues, and it's spelled B-W-E-E-G as if you were pronouncing it. We are a French company. We were founded in 1952 by a young entrepreneur at the age of 29. So a diverse industrial group with sort of the main sectors we look after: construction, media, and telecom. And you can see that highlighted in that chart there. We are in 90 countries with approximately 120,000 employees across the globe. In the UK, our UK parent company, Bouygues Construction, builds and designs sustainable developments and buildings to enhance the living and well-being of individuals, both living in those and the surrounding areas. So sustainability is driven within the organization. The entity I'm here to represent, Energies and Services Limited, is the facilities management arm. In many cases, we facilities manage many of those PFI buildings built by Bouygues Construction and not built by Bouygues in the education, government, commercial, and healthcare sectors. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an indication who Bouygues is, and some of those names and logos may seem familiar. It will be wrong of me not to talk about the partner that has helped us through this case study. Hygiene Systems Limited are a supplier of cleaning chemicals, janitorial, PPE, disposable paper products. And we've been working with HSL for approximately 18 years, so a very long partnership. One of the key reasons we've engaged with HSL is they share common goals with Bouygues around sustainability. And the slide there shows two quite key names, Essity and Diverse, who are key strategic supply chain partners of HSL. And Diverse are the provider of some of 50% of the cleaning chemicals that we use on our sites. And Essity, many of you may know as SCA, and they're a market leader or a global leader in sustainability. They've partnered with the United Nations Foundation for Sustainability Development. And many of the brands you see there, household names, Cushell, Tork, Tenor, Plenty, are key sustainable products. They are a market leader when it comes to these sort of elements. So it was only right and befitting that we partnered with an organization like this who had the supply chain. Essity is a Swedish-based company, headquarters in Sweden, and they have a factory in Wigan. Some of you may know about that from the famous In the Factory series with Greg Wallace. So the three amigos in the top left are myself and our two environmental managers who had we were able to go and meet them and see that firsthand. Again, reiterating our sort of commitment to work with a company who also shared common goals with us. And that's briefly what that slide does. It shows Essity's Tork's alignment to the United Nations Sustainability Goals. Like I said, they've done some fantastic work worldwide. But the key reason for highlighting that, the bottom part of that slide was actually picked up by HSL, Tork, and Essity when we went to meet them, because they felt that we were a good fit, two organizations who could work together. So where did this journey begin? And so I'm going to highlight some of the key areas that in relation to this project around reducing single-use plastics in cleaning products, we looked at and hopefully would be a benefit to your organizations as well. So the first figure, 69% SMEs, it's a great figure to highlight, but the one thing it does pose, it poses a great figure, it also poses a great challenge for any organization. And the challenge it has for my organization is that 60% of our SMEs, 60% of our supply chain are SMEs. Am I, and is the procurement function engaging those SMEs to look at sustainable development, innovations, etc.? And that's a question I think everybody on this call should ask themselves. A, are you able to report on that figure? And two, what are you doing? Is it just a tick box exercise? And I say that to myself before I say that to anybody else. The analogy would be that you have diamonds of suppliers working in-house and you're looking outside of your house kind of thing. So that was key for us. The second one is our CEO's commitment. We had leadership commitment around the reduction of single-use plastics and a pledge that our CEO, David Carr, in 2018 made. So all of a sudden now we've got a buy-in from senior leadership. Again, we have to find those individuals in our organizations that will help push and drive these sustainability programs. And we have carbon targets. I'm sure everybody does now. We've got a 2030 program around net carbon zero reductions, etc. So this all ties into that. We have a platform to go back to them and say, we can help you with this. Specifically with the single-use plastics, as many of you may be aware, the government had a target to eliminate single-use plastics from their estates in 2020. We all know what happened in 2020, and that set us back. But that was a key focus area for us. We look after many government sites, so we'd want to proactively engage in this program to go back to our clients and say, look, we understand and we're aligned with your goals as well. Key category management. The Bouygues procurement department is split up into category managers. Now, why am I saying that? We have a level of expertise in each field, whether that's to do with cleaning, waste, etc. If your organization doesn't have that ability to do that, then who are those key people in your organization you can leverage off that have that knowledge base, that are keen to talk about sustainability? And that's a question for yourselves. And also, we've embedded now sustainability into our tender documentations. It took a while, 10, 5% sustainability criteria for anybody who's going through a tender process. It's just lifting that profile of sustainability. We've all heard about the Supply Chain Sustainability School. Bouygues is a partner. The companies that work with us will get free membership to that. They have an array of amazing e-learning tools for you to develop your sustainability credentials. They also do a sustainability risk assessment, which we as an organization, regardless of our size, did several years ago. If you're going on a journey, you need to understand where you're going to start and where you're going to go. And the continuous improvement is just around supplier engagement. Now, has COVID stopped us from meeting suppliers, talking to them on Teams, and still giving them a platform to engage? Because this is where this particular project was key. You see the image in the left from the blue planet. We all know that. We can only get rid of that if we are talking to our supply chain, talking to the experts. So specifically around the single-use plastic rollout for core cleaning range with HSL. Now, I said about category management, I'm the category buyer for that. So we'd already had an initial engagement piece. I'd made them aware of the pledge David had made, our CEO. We invited them to a supply chain sustainability school event in 2018. It was to do with circular economy. Whilst it was heavily construction focused, HSL came out of that saying, a gentleman called Nick Cook, who's our sales director there, saying, Jehangir, I really want to work with you. We need to do something. I don't care if we're just a chemical or a cleaning solutions provider. We really want to help you. And that was where the first sort of initial wave, brainwave came from. That was backed up by internal surveys. What helps with any of these processes is that you've engaged and asked people what they think is important. So side by side with that sort of workshop, we put a message out there to all of our internal staff, all the way down from the core people working at site level, the people that made our business run, all the way up to directorate. What are the key areas of focus? Packaging, cleaning as well, because we've got quite a large presence of, we do a lot of cleaning in many of our facilities. They're all key items that were raised in that. So all of a sudden now you're amalgamating a piece of work to say, we've done our homework here. Engagement with key stakeholders, it's important, but early engagement. We took the opportunity there to ensure that our environmental teams, our operational teams were all got involved and engaged, because without them, this could happen. And inevitably, as a result of that, we set some key sustainability objectives where the reduction of single-use plastics on cleaning chemicals, which is what Nick had come back with to us to say was high on that agenda. So what was the concept? Very simple, a traditional cleaning approach versus a revised cleaning approach. That's not my cleaning cupboard, but in principle, the image there is to show you the fact that, many of our sites, whilst they were already using super concentrates and buying bulk purchases, many of them were still using, squeezy bottle of fairy liquid, use it, throw it away, and plastic array. We were just using plastic like crazy. So the simple concept was, yes, you're doing it already at some sites. Let's really drive that reduction of single-use plastic by focusing on a more revised approach. The use of super concentrates, they need to be diluted. Clover and Diverse, which were the two chemical providers we used, have a dose-it style system. So it allows you to take out exactly what you need, less wastage. And we consolidate that range. So you buy a 5-litre container as is in there and you fill up trigger sprays. But the conversations with HSL were also around the fact that there was a great opportunity to consolidate that product range. Everybody has a favorite product. 3 different cleaning solutions for one thing. So we used that as an opportunity to try and consolidate that as well. And with that came training of the new approach, and HSL were pivotal in saying we will help you and get at the grassroots level and do that for you. With any program, it needs a trial. So we picked our headquarters close to home in 2019, and we ran that from January to December. And the plastic reduction of 30 kilograms was based on the usage from the previous year. So now the business had a live case study and knew it worked. And there was a key engagement piece there where HSL, ourselves, and other people were making themselves visible. Every concept needs a marketing piece around it. How do we put this across to the business that is simple? It won't take too much effort, in consideration of the fact that it's not us who will be using it, it will be the people at the grassroots level, the cleaners, the cleaning supervisors, the managers there. So we didn't discount HSL from this process. They were part of this marketing review with our marketing team, with our environment, to sit down and say, what should this concept be? And the reason I'm highlighting this for you is this concept was actually in principle with two people's ideas. One was a graduate on that call. And again, I talk about giving people that platform to voice opinions, and HSL. And we came up with the concept of the 3 R's. Simple concept is retain empty trigger spray bottles, refill those bottles with super concentrate, and then reuse those bottles again. A very simple concept. So retain, refill, and reuse. And there's some figures highlighted there in terms of what that saving across the Bouygues estate would look like. The reason for showing you the visuals is we are big believers in quantifying what the saving is. People want to see visuals. So when you tell individuals that's the equivalent of 72,000 or 70,000, 1.5 empty plastic water bottles, they build an image in their head. And it's the equivalent of 6 EU inhabitants plastic waste in a year from 2018, and two people's waste they produce in 1 year in the UK. So you contextualize it. The rollout was then planned for the government sites first and foremost. Why? We aligned it to the government eradication of or elimination of single-use plastics. It made sense. We wanted to proactively tell them. So some key figures there, again, contextualizing that saving and what it looks like, giving people a target to work to, 2,735 kilograms of CO2 emission reductions, 40% average plastic reduction. So some really key figures that we would then report against. In terms of ongoing support, again, we didn't leave HSL out of this. They helped us, told us who the site champion should be. They knew those individuals from working at the sites. We had monthly reporting on progress against the original targets, and a commitment to ongoing training and support. They were getting out to site where it was COVID safe to do so, and under the parameters, and training our staff on those measures. In principle, in conclusion, there's a continuous improvement and good practices. As a result of this project, we learned that there are a lot of good practices, early engagement of staff, all those elements in terms of engagement with the supply chain that we need to move on to other projects. So my last slide after this will be another program that we did using the lessons learned from this particular program to enhance. This was the catalyst the business needed to say it can happen. We can quantify that saving. Because sometimes what happens with sustainability is it's a huge challenge and we can get caught up with doing several things at the same time. Here, what we were trying to say is if there was a focus on this, this would be the catalyst for all projects. There's a shared goal, both with the partner, SME and HSL, because they want to drive sustainability, they understand the benefits of doing so, and with our clients. We were able to go back to our government clients this year and say, you want to reduce single-use plastic in 2020. I guess you're behind on that because of COVID. We are proactively coming to you and sharing that gain with you. And it's been taken incredibly well and received very well. The big one for me is the SMEs. What's in it for the SME? Very often you can take them with you on this journey and then forget about them at the end and say, well, HSL have done their work, off you go. No, this was about, building their profile. This webinar is one of those reasons for highlighting that, but also then putting them into other entities and other areas of the business where we can improve. So there has to be a gain in there for the SME, for sure. The supply chain school and the KCM supply chain school, sustainability school, we know how important that is. That resource has helped us incredibly. to identify where we were and where we need to get to. If we were experts in that and we knew all the answers, we wouldn't have to go out to anybody. But we are a partner and we use the resources. We set up regular workshops. So if anybody here is on our supply chain, please do try and go to that. One of the stories was with another SME that who do fire compartmentation for us. I sat with them in a seminar a couple of years ago, and he said, Jehangir, I need to do something for my business. And this individual was very sustainable outside of work and wanted to bring that practice into work. And a couple of months ago, with all COVID going on, he said to me that we've gone all electric fleet. It wasn't necessarily our doing, but we created a platform to allow people to voice that opinion. And category management, our buyers are focused on an area. They have an expertise, they have an interest in that. So if you don't have that and you're not an organization that can employ several buyers, pick the key people within your organization that can help you and take you on that journey, I guess is the message on that. And my last point is a collective goal. This webinar and this presentation is an open invitation to anybody out there, for me to say that we're willing to share good practices, because the collective goal is if we don't all chip into the sustainability challenge, we're going to carry on seeing those images that we showed before of the blue planet with David Attenborough. This is a collective goal. So open invitation in terms of I'm happy and willing to share some of the good practices we've done here. I'm also willing to work with people. You don't have to be in the facilities management sector. Happy to hear your ideas. So I'm putting it out there to people, definitely engage. I'm on holiday after today for 2 days. So hopefully fingers crossed you won't say you never got back in touch with me. So, but there's the open invitation. And I said it went on to other programs. We didn't just stop there with HSL. HSL was actually looking to work with us to try and eradicate plastics completely. Now you'd say, what benefit is it in there for them? They're a chemical provider, but they've proactively seen the benefit of the work we're doing. And currently we're looking at an electrically chemically charged water solutions to try and eradicate the use of chemical, because it gives a mild pH level for cleaning sort of main sort of worktop areas, etc., all tied into COVID. But this was another one with a company called Reworked, where we took the good practices we learned from the HSL case study and applied it to Reworked. To Reworked, we used a lot of our PPE, our masks, etc., and converted that into sort of a circular economy model, reusable construction site, hoarding, office furniture, etc. And that may said we've got a construction entity as well. So hopefully we will take those elements and we'll get the circular economy in it. But I'm happy to share anything on that as well after this particular meeting. And that in principle is the end of the webinar. It's hopefully you've taken some insights from that in terms of ways we can engage and work with our supply chain. Not a lot of it is rocket science. And I'll leave you there with that statement from Kofi Annan. It's a collective issue, not an individual. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That was very clearly and good pace of going through. I think we have had some questions come in, as you'd imagine. I guess it'd be good to start off. I think at the top, you may have mentioned it at the beginning, but what kind of drove you to settle on starting this whole approach with single-use plastics? What were the key drivers for the company?
I think that one of the key drivers was, I'm the category buyer, so I've done a collective sort of research piece behind the scenes around waste and single-use plastic. Single-use plastic was definitely one of the key areas that the business wanted us to focus on. We have a shared client base, so even our head office has multi-clients in it. We share it with education and government establishments. It was in the news, David Attenborough's stuff, where people were working from home as well. It's really driven that single-use plastic piece. So I guess that was it. I think the other thing was it was quantifiable. I think the issue we have a lot of times is we're the same. We had maybe 10 different areas we were looking to focus on, but we never really got that project that gave people that catalyst to say, this can work. If my opinion is heard. So we felt this was a quick win. And many of the sites were already doing that, I guess was the issue. It was just tweaking it a little bit and showing what a difference it could make.
Brilliant. And a question from Victoria Barlow. So could you talk about some barriers and blockers that you had to overcome as you were kind of, give people an understanding who are starting out on their journey and what they can expect on the road of the journey on this? Because it's obviously not plain sailing, is it?
No, it's not plain sailing. I'm sure I've told you that before as well. So it's, I guess the first blocker is, I'll say with anything, any program you start, you need to understand where you are. You know, we used our partnership with the Supply Chain Sustainability School to not be arrogant and think just because we're a large organization, we're doing everything right. You know, we took that risk assessment and it opened our eyes to the fact of what we were doing well and what we needed to improve. The biggest challenge, and I appreciate this, is the backing of leadership and people at a very senior level. In this particular case, our life was made a little bit easier with the single-use plastic because our CEO had made that commitment. It filtered down. It was driven from the top of the business downwards, and it helped. In other areas, it's still difficult. You know, I talked to you about the category management approach. It's only been a couple of years, and as you know, that we've embedded sustainability within our tender processes. You know, it was very difficult to change people's mindsets to say when you're doing a construction project or a project at a site or a hospital, why should I have 5% or 10% sustainability? What benefit do I have there? So training our buyers, using many of our buyers are doing that outside of work, and I emphasize that again. Yep, but for some reason we walk into work and we forget that and we take that hat off. We've allowed them a platform to say, look, keep driving and homing in circular economy. Sustainability won't cost in the long term. And the first thing I think businesses think, and ours did a few years ago, was there's a cost associated with certain.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, so another question from David Emmanuel from the IFM, I think. He's asking that, you know, the public sector are addressing this element in their bid processes these days. How do you feel the private sector is comparing against kind of the public sector bid process? Because you mentioned about, you know, integrating it into the tender process. Yeah. Have you done any benchmarking between public sector and private sector bidding?
I guess the simple way of maybe looking at that is the public sector is driven by the government. So obviously when the single-use plastic elimination piece came out, you had individuals who were driven by that. But with all due respect to all of those organizations didn't always necessarily believe in that, and it was driven from the top. There has to be a sense of belief. So it was trying to get over that. We weren't just in this just for figures. The private sector, it varies in different states. We have got very good private sector clients. I think I can mention some of them, like the Body Shop, who have sustainability embedded as part of their process. So actually, it's an easier conversation to be had. Yeah. And many of the private sector's companies already have sort of sustainability groups or green groups or whatever doing that. What we've just done is come in and said, look, we can take that burden away from you as a facilities management provider. Whereas the government may have its own entity to do that. I think the private sector struggles and say, well, how can we drive this? As a facilities management provider, we look to put the wheels in motion, put the wheels onto that vehicle and say, guys, we can help you go through this journey. And we've done it. In terms of benchmarking, you know, we've launched this project now, so we'll see how that compares between the government and the public sector, public sector and non-public sector. But I think the challenge is the same on both sides.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because I think traditionally the government would never be considered the key drivers of sustainability in kind of procurement. Yes. But yet we've seen a very rapid kind of build up of a few things that have come out related to zero carbon, obviously plastics, as you say, and kind of social value as well. So it's and
the mindset has changed on a lot of our tenders. A lot of the tenders we do for mobilizations, there is a heavy quality sustainability criterion. So the focus is definitely changing. Ironically, I think COVID has a big part to play in that as well. There is a silver lining.
Yeah, sure. Okay, a couple more questions. We're approaching the top of the hour. Got one from Kirsty Martin asking about, so Kirsty's part of a cleaning company. So I think she's interested in what you're saying about chemicals, I think being the next kind of steps for you. She was saying, you know, would that be a good place to start for a cleaning company who is looking to reduce their kind of carbon, their environmental impact, and how would Bouygues kind of rate starting off as chemical, starting off in kind of reducing chemical impacts?
Yeah. If I'm understanding it right, if they're a supplier, just like we're talking about HSL, then I guess yes, because proactively, I think you should go back to your client base. You're obviously selling to an individual, you may be selling to a facilities management provider. They will be itching at the bit to hear what you have to say for yourself. Chemicals is a great place to start, because I would make the assumption that maybe there are sites already out there that are probably already using a super concentrate solution or a program around that. The only other key thing around that is the single-use plastic and the concentrate goes hand in hand with the consolidation of product range. Yeah, as cleaning providers and as an organization, we were just using too many products, and you know, different air fresheners for different things. It's perception. So you're at the heart of that, and you get to talk to the people at the site levels. You know, I would put both of those hand in hand. We definitely saw the benefit of going to our clientele and saying we're looking at both a concentrated solution and reducing single-use plastic, coupled with a product range consolidation, because we don't need that, and that has single-use plastic implications as well, obviously. Yeah,
sure. I think that's what you're saying is that from the beginning as well. It's about the alignment with your suppliers and customers. Understanding what is key for them, so doing a bit of stakeholder engagement, understanding what are the key issues for them and how that aligns with your business.
As a buyer to my suppliers, I always ask them to quantify the benefit, and that's a very difficult thing to do with sustainability. So I guess chemicals allows you to do that, hopefully, because you've got that knowledge base and you can, you know, what you're doing now and how it would look afterwards, I guess.
Indeed. And then, so finally, final question before we go is around how is, in terms of forward plans, do you have any forward plans about integrating kind of zero carbon targets or net zero targets? Because I know that Bouygues are kind of working in the background on building these. You know, how have they worked their way towards you in procurement?
Yeah, they have. So we call it the BYCN, it's the Bouygues purchasing network. So the overarching Bouygues group has put a set of carbon targets in terms of net zero reduction by 2030 on scope 1 and 2, and between 20 and 30% for scope 3A and 3B. So yes, we are working on that. We again are using these sort of smaller programs as catalysts for that, to say on a smaller level we can do this. You know, and I talked about our sustainability objectives. This is sitting in there with our carbon objectives, that we haven't disjointed the two. So yes, in principle there is. It's relatively early days, but we have something that's been filtered down to the rest of the group, and we'll be looking to embed that in our procurement processes going forward.
Brilliant. Well, it's been a pleasure as always. Thank you very much for joining us for this half an hour session. So I'm going to just shift on to the final slide now. It's kind of what's coming up next, really. No, it seems like my computer's crashed. So just a final word on next month. So we've had 3 bite-sized webinars in a row now. We are taking a break for August. Kind of have a little kind of regroup. We may send out some kind of feedback surveys actually, just to see how you guys are getting along with it and what's been particularly good for you. But then after that, we come back and we go again. Middle of September on the 15th, we are scheduled to bring in Equans, which, as some of you may know, is the new NG company. So you may remember them as NG, but now they'll be reviewing Equans, and we'll be talking about how to building a responsible business. So there's some very forward-thinking kind of governance areas around that. So really looking forward to hearing from those. And then after that, we then kind of start marching towards the COP 26. So we'll be hearing from signatory NatWest Group around zero carbon targets, which will be very exciting. Also before that, so from the SFMI's perspective, we've just been completing the desktop assessments. So these are companies like Bouygues Energies Services have been we've been putting their public information through our desktop assessments to benchmark them on their sustainability performance. And we've been setting up our in-person audits with these companies, or remote audits for the majority, for September. So we're looking forward to be kind of probing into the world of sustainability in 2021 with the SFMI partners. And then obviously after that, we'll be releasing the results in November, December time. so stay tuned. But you'll be hearing from us over the summer in build up to the next Bitesize webinar. Thank you very much. Sorry we overran by 5 minutes, but thank you very much to Jehangir. That was very informative and a great Bitesize webinar. So have a good afternoon, everybody, and see you next time.